the one source, Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 394. I am back from a weekend trip to Philly where my nephew is a Philadelphia firefighter. Spent 3 days there, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Went to a FIFA Fan Fest. Went to the Mets-Phillies game on Saturday night. Not a good result for a Mets fan, but the home crowd enjoyed it for sure. Kyle Schwarber, 3 home runs. Bryce Harper hit for his first cycle in his whole career. So I guess that's cool to be witness to that, if you will. But a little tired, but here we are. And so glad to be back, and glad that our guest this week is back for part 2 of our great conversation with him. Who am I speaking of? Dan Bliss of Front Row Card Show. And I've got to get to one of his shows. They are highly spoken of and now starting to spread across the country even more. So should be one closer to me to check out, which, hopefully in the future, like I just said, I will. What I hope you check out is Front Row Card Show and Dan Bliss on today's episode. This is, again, part 2 of our conversation. If you missed part 2, just go back 1 week. Check that out. We do them in 2 parts to keep them more consumable. So it's a quick 30 to 40-minute listen. And we appreciate you. And we try to do stuff like that too, for the benefit of you. Want to thank our great sponsors: Iron Sports Cards, Sports Collectors Digest, Hobby Hotline, Upper Deck, Card Ladder, and CTCA, Certified Trading Card Association. So with all that being said, let's not delay and get the show underway. There's a great point about, someone letting someone else buy the table, and you have no, it's just the wild, wild west.
I don't know who that is. And then, John, we don't have empty tables at our shows. Like, if a vendor knows shows, we will fill that table. And as a result, we've all been to shows where some high school kids squat on a table. Like, no vendor showed up, and then some kid shows up with his case of cards and starts spreading them out on the table. Now he's the vendor. We don't allow that. We don't do any of that.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I agree. I've had a debate with actually a fellow, which was kind of crazy to me, a fellow dealer, a fellow vendor. He's like, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, did you pay for your table? Yeah, but hey, it was just happened to, it's his lucky day, was the way he sort of worded. And I'm like, no, because then why, we're paying and someone else is not. I'm not saying he shouldn't be able to set up, you get a tax number and reserve a table, but just showing up and putting your stuff out,
John, that stuff, I could see the vendors being upset at the fairness of that, if somebody squatting on a table for free. But for us, we just view it more on the security side of things. Yeah. Because usually it's innocuous. Let's be honest. Some high school kids or some young vendor sits down at a table and spontaneously and starts selling cards. It's usually innocuous, right? Yeah. But it's about being careful in case someone has ulterior motives. That's what we're trying to prevent.
Yeah, and if something bad happens, that whoever got wrong, they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, that person at that table."
Right, and we're like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, if you did that,
I say, wait, that table's under John Newman. That's John's table, and
it wasn't me. And so now it's a double on time. It wasn't me, and then you don't know who it is at that point.
Right? I don't know who it is, so we just don't allow it.
Yeah, I get it. This is a recent hot button topic. I guess what happened was there was someone on the sex offender registry. I'll make this story shorter than it probably is. Was set up at a show, and the topic of safety for kids at shows came up. And so now the debate is like, and all vendors should have a background check done. And, I have a little working knowledge. I'm not a background check expert, but I do have a little bit of working knowledge. It's not hard to do, but it's also not easy to do. It's somewhere in between. It's also an added expense. Now, there are services where you can pay one fee, but again, what you already do so much of, like how do you answer that when someone maybe brings that up?
That's a good question. We're very careful with our vendors. Again, as I said, we check IDs for everybody. In addition to that, we have police on site at every event. So we've never had an incident where, someone's gone missing or someone's been molested, or, we've never had any inappropriate activities at our events because we have police and security on site. Now, that said, we now, because we were made aware of that situation, we now make all vendors agree that they don't have a record on one of those registries. And it got brought to our attention about one of the vendors that could not acknowledge that. And so we've had to deal with that situation. And, and that's, something we take very seriously. And, we've got a significant female team that runs our shows. My wife runs our shows. Most of our staff is female. Obviously we have security and whatnot at all the shows, but most of our security is female. So they're very particular about making sure that nobody is an offender at our shows. And we're very conscious of it, probably more than most people, because we have such a predominantly female team.
Yeah, and I think too, right? You get to know, your vendors that do a lot of your shows, like you said, and travel with you. I think you get to know them on a personal level. Like the local show I do here in Syracuse, it's about 110, 120 tables. We have one show called the Mega Show. It's towards the front end of December. That might be 250 tables. That's big for Central New York. But I've done. His name is Lynn. I've done Lynn shows for 20 years, so he knows me very well. He knows a lot of the vendors who've done the shows for many moons and many years. So, like anything, you get to know on not even just a hobby level, but you get to know them on a personal level, including family and all that thing. So
we also have a little luxury, John, of because we do so many shows and our shows are really strong, and it's hard to get into a lot of our shows. Like, it genuinely is, because we have long wait lists to get in, and our shows sell out so fast. We have the luxury of curating our vendors. So we really do try to carefully choose what vendors are at our shows. And like you said, we have a lot of regulars. So we have people that travel and do a lot of our shows, and we know them really well. Like, we'll go out to dinner with them, because we know each other genuinely. We see each other, monthly or twice a month if they're traveling with us, So I think, it becomes a community, and I think that's an important part of the hobby too, is the relationships that are gained within the hobby.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, right? Much like a lot of things in life, right? Things can get competitive in nature, and obviously with a lot of new shows and new promoters sort of entering the fray, just the logistics. I know even here on a small scale, Dan, we have two promoters, and they're not really buddies, is a nice way to put it. And so they're scheduling shows on like the same days, maybe 5 miles apart or 10 miles apart. For you, do you try to like get along with other promoters, or are you sort of like, hey, I got so much work to do on my own, like I really just need to focus here on, just talk about the dynamics of with other promoters and other shows, and how easy or not easy that is.
We get along with everybody, so we don't trash talk anybody. We don't talk about other promoters. We don't talk about other shows. Certainly not in a negative way at all. People spread rumors about us, and it's like, you know what? We don't counter it. We'll just say, no, that's not true, and we'll tell people what.
Yeah, you have a right. You have a right to defend yourself, especially.
Yeah, but we don't defend ourselves by trashing someone else. We'll just tell them it's not true, and we'll explain the circumstances, because we don't want to get into the muddiness of it. We just don't care. Our view is we're going to put our heads down and run great shows. And if we run great shows, everything will take care of itself. And if people want to trash talk us or hate us because of whatever, you know what? They can do that. We can't address that, especially with the internet these days. There's always going to be people saying things about whatever, but we're not going to contribute to that. We genuinely don't. I can tell you once a long time ago when I was young and I was doing the shows when I was in college, I organized a show, and then another guy organized a show 5 minutes away. And this is a crazy, John. He sent a person dressed as a chicken in a big chicken suit, like a San Diego chicken costume, stood out in front of our venue with a sign directing people, no, go down the street. The card shows that way.
That's dirty tactics.
That was crazy.
Like, it's funny, but that's just bad at it. Like, you don't do,
I mean, look,
I don't know if the thought was the chicken suit made it funny. But you just don't do. You don't do.
It's like we don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We.
Well, here's the thing.
We run great shows. That's it.
A high percentage of a lot of that bad talking or besmirching comes from people who are jealous or wish they were successful. And I think when you know that and you realize that, I think that makes it easier, sort of to turn the other cheek and say, hey, they're just an unhappy individual, and I can't lose sleep of what I got to do and do the right thing and let the chips fall where they may. So I think
that's it. Like there's a good number of promoters that we get along really well with, and it's fine. And we pick up the phone and call each other and talk about dates and making sure we're not conflicting with each other, and we get along great. There's some promoters that hated us a long time ago. Similarly, there's dealers that hated us a long time ago. And once they get to know us, they realize, all right, you guys are all right. You guys run good shows, and we've got the dealers and the collectors' interest in mind. We're not looking out for ourselves. We're playing a long-term game. We're looking out for the collectors. We're looking out for the dealers. And that's
you're a dealer too. I'm a dealer. As a vendor, right? It's easy. I don't want to say easy, but it's pretty easy to tell a promoter that's trying to do things above board, make the consumer and the vendors happy. And you can also tell when that's not the case. It's sort of a self-serving thing, right? It's
John, there's a lot of dealers though that
you can't really hide that. It comes out in the washes.
Well, look, we have haters because we don't let dealers leave early.
Yeah.
So some dealers don't like us for that. They don't like us for that. They get mad that we're telling them what to do. And, because especially if they have big egos.
You gotta have some sort of, protocols and rules. And there's a reason for that too. I mean, one of them, I think you'll agree with this, and I don't mean, is, you're advertising so many tables. Sometimes people can't get there till a certain time, right? You don't want a customer to walk in and see 10 empty tables. Like, hey, this was advertised as such.
Right. John, we've all seen shows that start falling apart on Sunday midday. We've all seen those shows. And so we make a rule. And the good news, John, is that we have big crowds and we have the leverage to make dealers stay to the end. And as a result, they do. And then as a result, the attendees have a better experience. It's all about them. We don't make more money. It's not about money. It's not about us being bullies. It's about creating a better show for the attendees. And John, so many dealers have hated us for that rule. I mean, not a huge number, to be honest, but there's a handful that really bitch about us. But eventually a number of them have come around and said, you know what? I get it now. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a better show.
Well, there's a reason. Like you said, you're not being a book. There's a reason for it, right?
Time to hear from one of our great sponsors, but Sports Card Nation will be right back after that.
For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.
Let's go! You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
And here's the thing. If you're a dealer, when I'm setting up at a show and I see the flyer or I already know, like, hey, the show's 9 to 3 or 9 to 4 or 10 to 4.
We go 10 to 5.
Show. Yeah. So I know going in. It's not like you're announcing the day of, hey, here's the hours
That's
of
right.
the show. Like you have well in advance notice, like, hey, this is the hours of operation. And if you want a table, you need to you're signing up for that. That's comes
right.
with
Exactly. It's exactly. They chose to sign up for it. You know, if they didn't want to do it, don't book a table. You know, you don't have to be here. I'm not making you book a table. Been to
those shows, especially during the NFL, right? Once those 1:00 games hit, it thins out. But you know what? That's a great time, like you said, to maybe make a couple buys with the people who are remaining. Talk with your dealer friends. Walk around yourself and maybe buy from fellow dealers. Maybe like you said, sort some cards. Like, keep yourself busy if that happens, right? And
you know what, John? We still get crowds on Sunday. Just to be honest,
and same here.
We genuinely do.
Yep. Nope. Same here. But it thins out even in the best of shows here. It gets a little lighter just in the NFL season on a Sunday show, let's say. So, but you know that, right? It's not a surprise. You can't act like, especially if it's a show you're familiar with and you know how it goes. Like, I know what the hours of the show. I'm kind of methodical in how I pack up, so I'm one of the last guys out, to the point sometimes my friend who's the promoter would be like, "Come on, Newman, let's go, pick it up." I want to go home. So I've gotten better with that, because I used to. I'll make this story short. I used to pack up my cards in alphabetical order by player, and I don't do so. That's saved a lot of time. So, but
look, I think we all know that you sometimes make a deal at the end of the show. Sometimes sometimes it happens.
Yep, no doubt. So, like it's advertised what the hours are. You know, a lot of times when I see someone leave early, and it's frowned upon at the shows, but I don't know what the reperepercussions are. I don't do it. But I've seen
sometimes there's no repercussions, and
and
John, there's a snowball effect. It really.
But that's the thing,
John. It was about 2 years ago we started enforcing that rule, because we were at a show, one of our own shows, and we didn't have that rule yet, and it was 2:30 in the afternoon, and several people started leaving, and then literally an entire section left, other than one guy on the back. So by 3:00 or 3:30 on a show supposed to end at 5, everybody's gone except one guy. And that guy was angry. He was a dealer, and he was angry because no collectors would walk over there because he's all by himself. Yep. Like, I'm not going to walk. There's only one table over there. I'm not going to walk over there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never even really thought of it.
And it wasn't fair to him.
Well, I cornered the market. But some people won't flow that way. They'll feel like that the show is where all the dealers are, the heavy.
So that was the triggering point that we decided. All right, this isn't going to happen. It's not.
Yeah.
So
it's a bad look, and when it does happen at shows that I do, Dan, I don't want to say with 100%. A lot of times you can see by the body language or how they're packing their stuff up or leaving, like they're not happy. It's just a bad display overall. It's like, it's almost, I don't want to say sportsmanship, but it's like it's kind of bad sport. It's like pout.
Well, you made the good point earlier. It's like the attendees, like maybe they had church in the morning on Sunday. Maybe they had a family thing. Maybe their kid had soccer. Maybe they work on the night shift and they don't wake up till noon, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own things. Maybe they can't make it to the show till 2 or 3 in the afternoon and they really want to go. And then they arrive and then everybody's already packing up. And that's just not cool.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
Nope. Yep. Nope. I don't like seeing it. I don't do it. And I know why it shouldn't happen, right? It's just It's not even a one-sided thing. It's both sides. It's a dealer. It's more than two sides. It's the promoter, the dealers, and the customers, right? It doesn't look good all around. And there's a reason. You advertise, hey, the show is from this time to this time. That's like there's no secret. It's not a secret club where now we announce the hour now that the doors are open.
It's not a surprise.
People can't, and listen, if you're mad because the day didn't go the way you wanted to, we've all been there at least one time, right? Like you can't take your ball and go home and act like, right? You just you know what I mean? Like say, win with class, lose with class, right? So you gotta,
John, I like that metaphor. You can't take your ball and go home. That's so true, because that's kind of what you're doing. You're taking that away from the collectors.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my ball and go home. And
I never, even you point out that story about the one dealer that was left, but no one would go that way. I never even thought of that angle too. So that's another ripple. That's another element that I didn't even think about. So someone might say, some dealer might say, oh man, I'm the only dealer now in this corner. I'm going to corner the market, so to speak. But if people just think, well, that the show's over here, that's not really the show. That person's affected by other people's actions, unduly so, right? So it makes all the sense in the world, and it's not about being a bully. It's just about the perception, right, and how it looks and the experience.
John, to us, it's about running a show. Like John, think about you go to a mall. Malls require every retail store to be open from all hours. You can't go into a mall and you go in there and half the stores are closed on a certain day. No, everybody that signed a lease to open a store in that mall agreed to abide by mall hours. And there's a reason for that. It's just good business. And, as you know, we don't want to dwell on this too much. It's just really one of the things that for us makes a show better. And that's why we do it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's important. There's a reason. You're not doing it for the sake of doing it. You're doing it because it makes sense, and there's a logic, obviously, behind it.
Right.
Kind of one final question, sort of coming down the turnpike here. Listen, I'm a content creator as well as a show dealer. We've seen the explosion. We've seen the explosion of everything in the hobby, from shows to prices realized, we've seen. Even content creation on a show floor with people filming, with camera crews. There's really two sides. There's no in betweens. People either love it or they disdain it, right? Oh, I can't stand. As a promoter, how do you, what's your stance and how do you approach that topic, which can, there's both sides of the aisle. There's two sides of that.
Well, I mean, you're always going to have people creating content in today's world. I mean, it's just, it's everywhere. So, we actually post signs, in the lobby that explain that there's going to be, filming and content created at the show. So just so people are aware and they're not surprised, we allow people to do what they're doing as long as they're not encroaching or impinging on other people. So, I just think that's part of life nowadays, whether you like it or not. So we don't feel like it's a controversial thing generally. I mean, if somebody's getting in your face and, filming you and you don't want to be filmed, we've really never had a big issue with that before. I imagine if that's something that occurs, we would handle it tactfully and professionally.
Yeah, and I think you said it. If it like I think most people go to shows now, Dan. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I think most people go to shows. It's sort of part of the terrain, like right. Like if you haven't figured that out now, like where have you been? And I don't mean that in as harsh as that might have came across. But I think you said it. I think something you said really, I noticed, like as long as it doesn't like become an issue, like you said, someone's following someone around where they don't want to be, like, hey man, get out of my face with the camera. Like,
well, and John, you might have seen this too. I've seen people where they're doing a deal and they're either buying something or selling something, especially if it's something expensive, and they say, you know what, I don't want to be on camera for this. And then I've never seen that not honored. If somebody's filming something or filming a deal, they'll say, okay, that's fine, not a problem. And, obviously if that person were still being filmed, we would certainly step in and say, hey, this person requested not to be on camera. So, and I get that. Maybe they don't want that for their safety, whether they're buying or selling something. That means they either have cash or a valuable item with them, and they don't want to be on camera for their safety. So I totally respect that, and we always will. Yeah.
And I think I don't want to say there's a right answer and wrong answer, but that for sure makes sense, right? If someone's experience is being affected and about it, it's easy for you to say, hey, like you can film, but if this person is telling you they don't want to, please respect them and go to the, move on along to something else, right? Or maybe you won't be allowed in if you can't do that. So,
well, and John, vendors listen to us, because they want to be in our good graces, which is, it's a nice position for us to have that everybody will respect and honor our rules. And again, I think that leads to a better card show.
Yeah. Well, listen, you don't need me to tell you this. As a promoter, you've got your priorities in order. And I think, your vendors and your customers are all the more better off for it. And obviously the shows that you put on are better off for it. So it's nice to see that. And keep up the continued success. I don't know if you ever make it into central New York. Our market's maybe not as big as some of those other cities we mentioned, but if you do, let me know. I would gladly love to set up at a front row show. And but as always, I give the guest, Dan, give out where people can find out where your shows are coming and when, and the times that they're open from. Website, social media, anything you want to put out there. Take your time. And
well, thank you, John. You can find us at frontrowcardshow.com. Frontrowcardshow.com. It's one word. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Front Row Card Show. And we're all over now. So Vegas is our home market. We're in Pasadena. We're in Phoenix, San Diego, Seattle, Portland, and then coming to the East Coast in Atlanta and Orlando, and newly Salt Lake City. And you'll find us in some other markets soon. So if you want to learn about us, find us Front Row Card Show, and you can find our information everywhere.
Well, listen, I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you making some time for us here at Sports Card Nation. Thanks, Dan, and continued success.
Great. Thank you for having me, John.
Awesome having Dan on. We'll have to get to one of those shows, and so do you if you haven't yet, because they're getting rave reviews, and he puts on a good show and has a lot of entities of the hobby in attendance, and so doing it the right way. And we'll have Dan back on too for a future episode as well. So we're coming down the home stretch here. Let's hear from our Hobby is the People announcer of the week. Love to hear if something you want to do. Follow the directions after it airs, and hopefully we get some new ones and you hear yourself on the show.
Time for our Hobby is the People announcer of the week.
Hey guys, this is Dylan from YouTube, Double D Vintage Baseball Cards, reminding you that the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People announcer of the week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Say goodnight, Kane.